So Chris Jones has decided to challenge all the other YouTube bait makers out there to see who could make the best watermelon red pearl. Well, I got myself a pack of Zoom watermelon red pearl Horny Toads, and we're going to throw our hat in the ring. Challenge accepted. What's going on, all my fellow bait chuckers out there? My name is Michael. Welcome back to the channel. So a few weeks back, I was hanging out in one of Chris Jones's live streams, and he threw out a challenge. Well, maybe not exactly a challenge. I might have embellished a little bit. But we were having a discussion in his stream between the live chat and Chris, mentioning how different bait makers kind of approach color matching a different way. Now, a very special color to Chris is the watermelon red pearl. In fact, in the Horny Toad, this is the bait that he got his PB on. He has a whole video on that. In fact, I will link that video in the upper right hand corner of the screen right now for you. But in the live stream, he was talking about how if you take 10 different bait makers and they all try to color match the exact same source bait, every one of those bait makers is going to have a different recipe. I thought this was a great idea, so I'm kind of moving forward with that. I'm putting out this video. I grabbed myself a pack of Zoom watermelon red pearl Horny Toads, and I kind of challenge all the other YouTube bait makers out there to do a video like this. I think we could build a fun series, and I think it would be really cool to see all the other bait makers making the same color, so we can all kind of see everybody's approach as to how they would go about color matching a source bait that we can all get today. It's not very expensive and it's very easy to find. So in this video, we are going to take the Zoom Horny Toad and the watermelon red pearl, and we're going to do our best to color match it. Now, if you're another bait maker out there, I wouldn't say you have to use a Horny Toad. I was able to get some watermelon red pearl super flukes as well off Tackle Warehouse. They seemed pretty easy to get. So there's a number of baits that Zoom makes in this color, watermelon red pearl. But in today's video, we are going to focus on the frog in particular, something similar to the Horny Toad. I don't really have a speed frog mold, but what I do have is the Epic Bait Molds 4.6 inch Freakin Frog, which is an absolutely incredible mold. I love this mold. We're going to be pouring this color in some super float plastic today, so make sure it stays up on top of the surface, and yeah, we're going to get right into it. Let's make some Freakin Frogs and some watermelon red pearl. Let's go. So we're going to start by preheating our Freakin Frog mold. It does have a fairly thick body, and injecting into a cold mold with a thick body like that, that's going to cause rapid cooling, and it's just a recipe for dense. So I already have the hot plate warmed up, ready to go. We'll just set our mold on top of there like that, and keeping that mold nice and warm is just going to prevent denting on the first few injections. No need to constantly keep it warm. We're just taking the chill off of it a little bit, you know what I mean? We got all of our colors laid out here that I think we're going to need today, and well, actually, why don't we head back over? Let's do some close-ups and I'll show you what I'm thinking when it comes to breaking down the color. Alright, so let's start by breaking down the watermelon red pearl color. We'll take a look at the frogs first. Here, I'll get you all zoomed in here. Now, when we take a close look at the watermelon red pearl color, you can see on the top of the frog, it looks to be just a standard watermelon red. That's a standard Zoom color. Everyone knows watermelon red. And then when you flip it over, there's this red pearl action going on. But the closer I take a look at it, I don't necessarily think there's actually any pearl powder in there. From my perspective here, this reflectivity and that little bit of green tint you get behind it there, I feel like it's mostly red highlight powder. So if I'm going in and I'm trying to color match this exactly, not necessarily make improvements on it, if you will, I'm going to go with just pure highlight red, just from all of my testing of the various mica powders and different things that I've been working with lately. That's my gut feeling. So I think the bottom color here, that's all we're going to use is just red highlight powder. I really think that's all we're going to need, and that's what we're going to start with. The nice thing about this, not so fantastic laminate here from Zoom is the fact that we really get a nice breakdown of the watermelon red. And if we get in real close here, you can see we have small, that looks like to be 0.015 of red flake. We have small square black flake. And then we also have, let's see, are there any on the bottom? Maybe they're only on the top. Here we are, back here. You have some large black flake in there as well, also of the square cut variety. So two different sizes of square cut flake, some red small flake as well. We happen to have all that. And we're just going to go with good old-fashioned Lureworks watermelon. I think that color is going to be pretty spot on. That's what most people use for watermelon red, and I found it to be a pretty close color match as well. If we were to take a closer look at one of the Super Flukes here, you can really see how dark the watermelon red gets in the back because of all of the flake they have included here. And here it's real easy to see the large and the small square cut flake. And again, that appears to me to be just a red highlight powder. I don't believe there to be any pearl in there, so I think that this color might be easier than we think. Although, you know, I say that now and we could do our first injection and it could be completely off. But this is what we're working with. Watermelon Red Pearl here by Zoom. It's a fantastic color. I don't know why I haven't thrown it more. It does very well here on the Delta from what other people have told me. It's just not one I've, you know, really come around to. But after this video, I think I might start throwing it because on closer examination, it's a pretty sweet color. You know, sometimes you don't need all the fancy color shifting and all of that to just make a good solid color bait, you know? I mean, in terms of a frog, this is, I mean, it's a pretty dynamite colorway. Yeah, all right, well, let's start mixing and give it a shot. So I'm going into this color match completely blind. We just saw my kind of analyzation of how I'm going to break down the color. So I ultimately don't know the final recipe yet, but thankfully due to the power of editing, my producer already knows. So we're going to go ahead and throw the recipe up on the screen right now so you can make this recipe in your shops at home. Today we are going to start off with Lureworks Watermelon 101. This is an awesome standard watermelon color. I've color matched Zoom's watermelon red before, so this is the approach that I'm going to take for that particular color. As mentioned, we're going to be using two types of square black glitter today. We're going to start off with the large 0.062 square glitter from Lureworks, and then for the small size, we are going to jump to the 0.035 small black glitter, also from Lureworks. And probably the key ingredient for the watermelon red is in fact the red flake. So we're going to go with the small 0.015 fire red glitter from Lureworks. This is an amazing bright red glitter. I absolutely love it. Highly recommend it. And for our belly color today, we are just going to be using straight red highlight powder. I'll be using the MF red highlight powder. Lureworks also makes a red highlight powder, and pretty soon you'll be able to get some red highlight powder from me from 8-Bit Baits, but we're still a little ways off from that release, but coming soon. All right, here we go. Fresh cup of plastisol right out of the microwave, ready to go. We're going to start in on the Watermelon Red 101. We're going to start with 30 drops. We might go up a little bit from there, but we'll see. All right, stirring that in. You can see it's got that beautiful, beautiful watermelon color. However, I want to compare it to the actual bait. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of a drizzle test here just to kind of see how that's going to compare. That's looking pretty good, I must say. When I kind of compare it side by side here, not bad. Maybe we'll go 5 more drops. Just a tad darker, because I know that the black flake is going to thicken it up a little bit too. We don't want it too dark, but it's very thin. There's not much of a laminate here, so it's going to be even lighter. Yeah, I think that's going to look good when we compare that to the previous one here. It might be hard to see on camera, but I can see in person that this new one, that just slightly darker shade, that's going to help out a lot. All right, let's get our flake added in. Okay, we're only going to go with 1/16 of the large flake. It seems to be pretty sparse throughout the bait, so we don't need a ton of it in there. And then we're probably going to go with a hefty scoop of the small black flake. There is quite a bit of it in there, but not as much as there is. Maybe we'll go 1.5. But not as much black flake in there as there is the red flake. The red flake is definitely very, very dominant. So I'm actually going to go ahead and do 2 full 16ths of the small red flake, and I think this is going to give us an awesome watermelon red. Let's see how this turns out here after we mix everything in. Alright, let's give it the old dab test there. Taking a look. I think that is pretty good. I mean, if anything, maybe slightly more black flake and slightly more red flake, actually. Yep. We're going in even more. I'm going to go 1/2 scoop of red flake and then another 1/2 scoop of the small black square cut. I know it doesn't seem like much. You're like, hey, you know, 1/2 scoop, is that really going to affect things? And yeah, it really does, believe it or not. I'm thinking that's looking pretty good right now on the stir stick. I mean, that looks pretty good to me. Yeah. I think that's a nice match right there. If I bring it down here close, you can see the kind of tone that I'm going for here. It looks like a pretty close match. I'm really digging the way that this watermelon red is looking compared to what we see on the bait. So I think with a little thickness in there and that, you know, red highlight belly, I think that's going to look really, really good. And this is what we're looking like in the cup. Awesome stuff. Alright, well, I think this cup is ready for the vacuum chamber, and then we can start working on our belly color. So let's get going. Alright, here we go with the second cup all ready to go. Fresh out of the microwave, and this is going to be a real simple belly color, because if my intuition is correct, we're just going to need a couple scoops. So I use a 1/16 ounce teaspoon here, so we're going to go with 2 scoops. And I think this is going to get us right where we need to be. So that's 1/8 of a teaspoon total, and we'll see if we need to add more. Alright, and there we go. And if I'm taking a look at that, that's looking pretty good. We might need more though, to be honest. Let's do our little dab test here. I know we're not using the color test mold today. We want something with a white background. That's looking pretty good, although it is looking a little bit on the thin side. I think I'm probably going to drop in another scoop, if I'm going to be honest. One more heaping scoop. Really want that red to be prominent, especially in the thick part of the bait here. You know, I don't want it to be super translucent because you cannot see any of the green on the flip side. You know, when you're looking through the bait, none of that really kind of comes through. It's just, it looks like a pearl almost. So definitely want to thicken this up. But that being said, I don't think there's actually any pearl powder mixed in there. It looks like it's purely just red highlight powder, and a lot of it. I mean, you can kind of create your own pearls with these. I mean, look at that. That looks like a pearl just on its own because we've gone super thick. So I think this is going to be the ticket, especially once this is all vacuumed out. I think this is going to look awesome. There we go. See, that's looking more similar to the solid sheen. Before, I could kind of see through it a little bit more. I think that's going to be just what we need. Let me get some of this down here. Getting you down close, you can kind of see the angle of reflectivity here. I mean, this just, it matches that reddish pink reflectivity almost exactly. It's going to look better as soon as we vacuum all the bubbles out. That is that's the next step. So why don't we go ahead and do that now? We'll get this vacuumed out and we will get ready to inject. All right, and we are all set up, ready to go. We got both of our colors up to temperature, vacuumed out. We're gloving up. We have our blending block preheated, belly on the left, back on the right. Okay, here we go. Watermelon red pearl in the Freakin Frog. Hopefully this turns out good. There we go. Nice injection there. Hold a little bit of pressure. Awesome. Gotta make sure to top it off because this mold will definitely drink. Okay, let's take a look at the blending block, and this will give us somewhat of an idea of what we're going to be working with. And that is looking pretty good. That watermelon red is pretty spot on, and it's hard to see on camera. You definitely get that red reflectivity out of that. There you go. You kind of see some of that red reflectivity there from the red highlight powder, and when it gets backed behind that darker green, I really think it's gonna show. Yeah, there you go. You can definitely see the red, I think, is a pretty close match. And with the backing of that green, I'm hoping it's going to darken it up and really bring out that red. I guess we won't know until we demold it. Okay, here we go. The moment of truth. Take a look at that sprue. I mean, what do you think? I mean, just based off of the sprue, do you think we got close? I don't know. I don't know. Let's take a look. This is legit first demolding. I promise I have not mixed this color ever before in my life. We're going to take a look. Okay. I think we need to work on our temperatures a little bit with laminating. One of those colors has a ton of powder in it, so I definitely see some mixing throughout here, but you know, based on Zoom's injection quality, I'm not super concerned with it. But there's our back. Alright, that's looking decently saucy. I mean, that's looking close. I'm excited. I am excited for what the underside holds. Should we take a look together? Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Looking pretty red. I think my hunch was right. That is just some red highlight powder underneath there. Can we zoom in closer? Can I get you in any closer? I mean, I don't know, folks. I'm liking this right here. Sometimes the simplest recipes turn out to be the best ones. Wow. I mean, if I mixed in that Zoom Horny Toad with those two Freakin Frogs, I mean, just based on that image, would you know that these were two different batches of color? I'm shocked, honestly. Like, this is probably one of the first times I've ever nailed something this close right off the gate like that. That's pretty cool. Wow. Flip it over. Boom. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to change anything. I mean, there you go. I mean, there's your Zoom Horny Toad in the middle. And here is the Freakin Frog on either side. It looks like a pretty close matchup to me. I'm very excited. Now, the way that this mold is set up, it's not very symmetrical, so the injection, you're going to get more white in the tails than you will on the Freakin Frog, because these definitely shoot 50-50. But if we were to take these and flip each one of these over, okay, you can see you definitely get more of that red highlight showing up on the underside, and that's just the way the mold's designed. Two different molds, they're going to inject a little bit differently, but look here. Here's one where we got some over injection and blending of the green versus what we have here on the Zoom. And this leads me to believe that my theory is correct, because again, we have a top color that's pigment and glitter only, and the bottom color that is powder. And not just like a little bit of powder, but a lot of powder. I mean, this is a full heaping eighth of a teaspoon of red highlight powder in here. And I mean, that matches up pretty nicely. I mean, I would even argue there might be even a little more red, and I'm wondering if perhaps that's why Chris added a little bit of red pearl powder in his recipe, but again, he was starting with just plain pearl powder as well, like a silver pearl. So what's interesting here is if I hold the two tips of the frogs up together, depending on the angle, it almost looks like there's more red over here. And maybe that's because I actually went a little bit too thick with the highlight powder. I'm wondering if not enough of that dark green is coming through. Because if I hold it up towards the tail though, and overlap it, you can see it's darn near exactly the same tone right there. So, yeah, I'm going to take it and I'm going to stick with it. I mean, you can see here, maybe it's just due to more blending, because if I hold these up, these definitely look like they're the exact same tone. So perhaps it's just the way that it blends. I'm going to stick with this recipe because again, this I mean, I'm impressed. I dig it. Yeah, there you go, folks. Zoom Watermelon Red Pearl. You can make it in your shop with some very simple ingredients. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Did we match it? Did we nail it? Are we close? Would you change anything? Let me know. All right, this last demolding here is going to be something a little bit special. I don't know if you can see what's going on there in the sprue, but what we did was, you can see the cookie sheet here. We went ahead and shot the rest of our Freakin Frogs. I really did like that color, didn't really want to change a thing. So we got 3 full packages of frogs here ready to go. Had just enough plastic for one more batch. And I mean, you know, could I do a video or a batch of plastics without adding just a little bit of hollow shift powder? You know, I couldn't resist. So we went ahead and added some solar sugar, which is one of the best kind of red hollow shift powders in my opinion. See if we can't get these all to come off cleanly for the most part. Yeah. All right, look at that. Woohoo. Look at that solar sugar, adding that little bit of extra pizzazz there. That little bit of extra flair onto that Freakin Frog. This is such a cool mold, by the way. the Freakin Frog, those little tails flap back and forth, similar to an AR crawl, but different. A little bit smaller bubbles, but boy, does this kick up a whole bunch of bubbles, let me tell you. Awesome. All right, here we go. You ready? Here's the shot. Oh yeah. We even put a little bit of the solar sugar in the belly. Hard to really tell. I think that pearl powder covered a lot of it up. There's a bunch of highlight powder in there, but definitely prevalent on the top when you compare it to the normal watermelon red pearl recipe. There you go, watermelon red pearl. What do you think? I think that was a pretty good color match challenge. I hope to see a bunch of other YouTubers do something similar. What do you say, guys? Let's do it. Alright everybody, and there you have it. Zoom Watermelon Red Pearl. What I think is a successful first entry into the Chris Jones Watermelon Red Pearl Challenge. I hope to see a bunch of other YouTubers attempt this challenge. I think it'd be really cool if a bunch of people all did a color match of the exact same style, bait, and color. It doesn't necessarily have to be a frog. I mean, watermelon red pearl, this color could work in a ton of different baits. So really excited to see what not only other YouTubers, but also the rest of the community make with this recipe. In fact, you know, I do have an Instagram account, and you can follow me. I'll put the Instagram address right down below there. It's real simple, bait chucking over there on Instagram. So please tag me in posts. I can't wait to see all of the wonderful creations that all of you are making with colors like watermelon red pearl and a whole bunch of other recipes that we have here on the channel. Don't forget to check out all of those playlists I got going for you. So yeah, hopefully this will keep you busy. Until next time, you all know who it is. Your friend on this end, Michael, out here around these Delta sloughs, reminding you to keep on chucking. I'll get back with you.